Hi, welcome to Diamond Delight Edibles. My name is Liz if this is the first time you're joining, and if you're a regular subscriber, welcome back. Thank you so much. Your support has been truly awesome. So I had a couple requests there for vegan gummy bears, and as I said previously in the past, I tried it with epic fail. And but I'm never one to give up. So I kept thinking about the method. I knew it had something to do with the method. So I thought I figured it out, and the fact that you're seeing this video actually means that I did figure it out. So I've created a vegan gummy candy for you. So it's not going to be exactly like a gummy bear, but it's going to be about as close, and probably with you being vegan, this is probably something that you're far more used to anyway. And with that, yeah, so I'm really excited to be able to bring that to you. And the one thing I decided is if I'm ever going to want to pick up somebody rich, I'm going to pick up a vegan. Because seriously, man, if they can afford those groceries or that kind of food, holy moly, they must have money. Because that stuff is expensive. So anyway, I'm going to get into the ingredients here and the steps on how to do it. And stay tuned. Alrighty, so for our vegan Cannaoil gummies, you're going to need, now I'm just making a small batch because I'm testing it, so I'm not 100% sure if this is going to turn out, and I really don't feel like wasting a whole bunch. However, if it does turn out, if you're seeing the video, then you know it's turned out. So I'm going to be using 1 cup of juice. I'm just using a peach cocktail. You can use whatever juice that you'd like, just not pineapple juice because it has an enzyme in it, and that I know causes gelatin not to set. I'm going to think it probably has the same effect on agar. You're going to use 1.5 tablespoons to 1 cup of the liquid. If you want to make it more, so if you're going to go 2 cups of liquid, then you would do 2.5 tablespoons of agar, 3 cups of liquid, 3.5 agar, so on. We're going to use 1 tablespoon of blue agave syrup, a 1/4 cup of our Cannaoil. Now, I've just used regular coconut oil. I haven't infused it because, again, I'm not going to eat these, so I didn't really want to waste it. And there's really no difference whether I've got THC in it or not. And we're going to use gum as our emulsifier. So, we're no further ado, and we're going to need our handy little blender and a saucepan. And a spatula, obviously, your molds, and that should be about it. So I'm just going to get this stuff cleared up and we'll get going. All right, so we're going to turn our heat on to, so we're going to add our liquid to our saucepan, and we're going to add in 1 tablespoon of the agave syrup. Now, the coconut oil is a lot different than butter. So what we're going to do is we're going to emulsify our oil and our liquid first. When I've tried it the other way, adding everything into the agar, it just didn't work. So I'm hoping that emulsifying our liquid and our oil together first is going to solve that problem. So I'm going to use 1/2 teaspoon of our agar, or sorry, of our gum agar. It's very tongue twisting. If you have a strainer, like a small strainer or strainer, it works great for doing the gum, so because you can evenly distribute it all over the top. Otherwise, if you have to do it with your hands, just try and do it as evenly as possible. You just kind of take little pinches and sprinkle it around like so. And we're going to get our handy little hand blender and start blending this up. Alright, so that looks all thoroughly mixed. So that looks good. All our oil is nicely blended in. So once you're that it's all nicely blended and it is all one uniform, nice uniform homogeneous texture, you're going to add in 1.5 tablespoons of agar. Now you can get agar flakes or agar powder. The flakes are less expensive. The powder, I'm pretty sure you would use it the same, but you'd have to look at the instructions for it. I just don't have a lot of experience with it. And 1/2 tablespoon is 1.5 teaspoons. 3 teaspoons is 1 tablespoon. And you're going to turn your heat up to medium high. We're going to bring this to a boil. And once it's boiling, we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for 5 minutes. So now that my mixture has come to a boil, I'm going to turn it down to medium low, and just let that simmer for 5 minutes or until it is completely dissolved. Son of a bitch. And you just want to make sure to keep stirring that. Alright, so I'm kind of seeing some oil, the oil sitting on the top here. So I'm going to use the blender here to see if we can get that mixed in there, because that's not looking quite right. So I'm still seeing it sit up at the top here, the oil on the top. So I'm going to add in some more, I'm going to add in a little more guar gum. So I'm going to add in just 1/4 teaspoon this time. Well, that looks a lot better. Alright, so what we're going to do now is distribute this into our molds. So whether you're using your squirt bottles, this might be a little bit thick for the for an eyedropper, but you can give it a try. Alright, so once your syrup looks like this, it's nice and smooth, no lumps, you can put it into your squirt bottle. Oops. Shit. Ah, fuck. Alright, don't do that on the mold. Learn from my mistakes. Alright, so I'm just going to clean up that bottle and we'll get this into the molds. Alrighty, so now that I've cleaned up my mess, now the bottle is going to be very hot, so you want to wrap it either in some doubled up paper towel or use an oven mitt or something. And you're just going to distribute it into your molds. Now don't fill your molds all the way up to the top like I just did there. That's an oops. You want to keep them just below. And that's so it doesn't create an edge, a sharp edge on your candies. Now with the agar, you're just going to leave these sit on the counter for a few hours for them to set. They do not go in the refrigerator. Whatever you do, agar does not set in the fridge. It is completely different than gelatin. Also has a very different texture. Well, if you're vegan and you use agar, you know what the texture is like. But for those of you that are new to it, or trying it something different, it is a completely different texture than gelatin. I can't really describe it. It is a gelatin, but it's not Jello. Finish filling these up, and I'll come back in a couple of hours. We'll take them out and see what happens. All right, so let's see how these little puppies came out. Well, they come out of the mold really. Holy mackerel, they actually worked this time. I can't believe it. Last time they were partially set and partially mushy, and they were really disgusting, but this method actually worked. So I did some reading on how you actually store these, because you can't do them like a regular gummy bear or a regular gummy candy. And for agar, actually it says it's served best cold. So actually once they're all set, just put them on a plate, put them in the fridge for for about an hour, or just for them to cool down, get cold, and then give them a try. So I'm going to do that, and we'll see how they are. Now, these puppies just pop right out of the mold. Look at that. Blip, blip, blip. A lot easier than the Jell-O. Oh, bear overboard. Alrighty, so I put these guys into the fridge for an hour, so they're nice and cold, and you can see how much they lighten up, and as well, they're not as greasy. So when you first take these guys out, they are going to feel a little bit greasy. Once you put them in the fridge, that goes away. But as I said, you can probably store them in the fridge. Just wrap them up wrap it up with saran wrap, and they'll probably be good for about 2 weeks, I'm going to guess. If you find that different, please let me know in the comments. That would be great. All right, so that is the little tutorial there on a vegan Cannaoil gummy bears. And I'll just be back to say goodbye. So that is my little demonstration there on vegan Cannaoil gummy candies. I hope you enjoyed the demonstration. If you have any questions at all, please don't hesitate to put them in the comments. I will get back to you as soon as I can. And I'd love to hear from you and let me know how yours turned out. All right, well, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you enjoyed this video, I do hope you subscribe. Thanks again. You have an awesome day.